Austin Dillon, NASCAR driver, number 3 car for Richard Childress Racing.
Wife of the year.
I've been waiting to say that one. I had that one ready.
Put you in a body bag. I want to ride a bull.
You want a what?
Austin Dillon has been a full-time Cup Series driver for about a decade now, and he has yet to impress me. Watching him on track is like going to the zoo and hoping that the animals are visible and actually doing something, but instead they'll choose to hide in the corner or be asleep, and that's exactly what Austin Dillon has done throughout his Cup Series career so far. Yeah, I see the 4 career wins on his resume. Those wins don't really mean shit to me, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Let me start by saying that I don't think Austin Dillon is the worst Cup Series driver ever. That belongs to Danica Patrick. But he's painfully mediocre. He's driving for his grandfather Richard Childress. That team isn't a Hendrick Motorsports or Joe Gibbs Racing. They're not at that elite level, and honestly, they've never been elite. They've been carried by generational talents like Dillon Sr. and Kevin Harvick, who made them look better than what they actually are. However, they are a team that's capable of running good most weeks. I look at his body of work with RCR, which is a B-level organization, and honestly, these statistics that he's put up with an organization like this doesn't impress me. Now, if he was putting up these numbers with organizations like Aspire Motorsports or Wicker Racing, then I would say, holy shit, a good team needs to give Austin Dillon a chance because he's consistently punching above his weight. I heard some people say that he's underrated, and I'm sorry, but I gotta disagree with that. He's never finished top 10 in points, and yes, he's had some years where he's made the playoffs, and some of those years he'll make it regardless of a win, but he's always around that 14th to 16th spot, and he never makes it past the round of 12. And I'm not about to sit here and pretend that 14th to 16th is good because of the playoffs letting so many goddamn drivers into it. His best points finish is 11th 3 times. He's only got 2 seasons where he's gotten double-digit top 10s. He's never had a season where he scored double-digit top 5s. The most laps he's led in a season is 135. Do I need to go on? These statistics doesn't scream underrated to me. If anything, it's underachieving. Austin Dillon has had good runs before, but when has he ever had a race where he's driven to the front and was the guy to beat? When has he ever led the most laps in a race and established himself as the guy to beat in a race? I know there's fans out there that care about just results. It doesn't matter how a driver ran during the race. As long as they cross the finish line first, that's all that matters to them. With me, how you run really does matter because yeah, a win is a win, but drivers can bullshit their way into wins. And when you look at most of Austin Dillon's wins, they don't hold a lot of weight. If Austin Dillon was a guy that had some races in the past where he was the guy to beat, but for whatever reason didn't win, then I would look at him in a more positive light. Because then I could look at him and be like, okay, he could have won this race, that race, and etc. He dominated, but things just didn't play out. Once again, I know he's had good runs in the past. Running in the top 5 and top 10 is something I've seen from Austin before. I just want to see him go up there and lead a lot of laps and actually get a good amount of top 5s and top 10s in a season. Make a deep playoff run for once. He has yet to do any of this in his Cup career so far. I don't really see a track or track type what he specializes in. Some may say super speedways because of his 2 Daytona wins. He had a nice stretch in 2016 when he finished in the top 10 at all the super speedways that year, but outside of that, the results ain't that great, especially his recent results at those tracks. Now I'm going to break down all of his Cup wins so far as of this recording, and I'm not going to sit here and be on some hating shit and refuse to give him some credit when it's obvious that he deserves a little bit of credit for at least 2 of his 4 career wins. His first career win came off of fuel mileage in the 2017 Coca-Cola 600. He obviously did a good job saving fuel, and that's how he ended up winning. Fuel mileage wins doesn't hold a lot of weight in my opinion, and I know I'm definitely not the only one that feels that way because I remember doing Dale Jr.'s winless streak from about 2008 to 2012. People will constantly remind Junior fans like myself that not only he hasn't won shit in a while, but his last win was a fuel mileage win at that. Basically saying that his 08 Michigan win doesn't really mean a lot. And like I said, fuel mileage wins doesn't hold a lot of weight in my opinion, but the drivers still deserve some credit because they saved the fuel they needed to save while also not giving up too much time. So this is one of those wins where I can give him some credit. His second win was some bullshit. Last lap of the 2018 Daytona 500 and he faced Eric Almirola to block the inside. Okay, Dillon has the whole outside lane to pass him but stays on his quarter panel and ends up wrecking him out of the lead and goes on to win the fucking race. People claim Eric moved up but he didn't. It was such a shitty way of winning a race, and a prestigious race at that, and I refuse to give him any credit for this victory. In 2020, he won Texas. His crew chief put him out front late in the race on strategy. Once again, I can give a little bit of credit to him. He did a solid job on the restarts. I will hope he wouldn't fuck up and spin the tires with a race package that doesn't have any power. He did a decent job and got the win. At least he didn't choke and lost to his rookie teammate who was Tyler Reddick at the time. I'll give him a little bit of credit for this victory as well. Then you look at his 4th career win, which came in the 2022 Daytona night race. A huge ass wreck happens because rain came out of nowhere and everybody ends up wrecking. Austin Dillon is like one of 2 drivers that made it through unscathed. Congratulations on making it through the wreck, but I refuse to give him credit for just knocking Austin Cindric out of the way to win. He gets a big run on Cindric, and instead of shooting to the outside, he just runs right in the back of him in the worst spot, takes the lead and holds off a bunch of wounded cars. Even though I can sit here and give him some credit for 2 of his 4 career wins, he still doesn't have a win where I came away impressed by it. You probably sitting there thinking that, man, this dude really doesn't like Austin Dillon, and you'd be correct. I'm not a fan of drivers hogging up a ride when they not putting up solid results at least, especially if they haven't performed for damn near a decade. He did perform well in the lower series, he did win the Xfinity Series championship after all, but he's been able to stay in that cup ride for obvious reasons, even though he's underperformed and he's not going anywhere until he decides when he's done. Honestly, I feel like he'll be a good businessman whenever he hangs it up. People forget this, but he's kind of responsible for getting Kyle Busch over to RCR. That's a huge win for that organization. I feel like RCR will be in really good hands whenever he decides to step into that role one day. Unless he just turns his driving career around for the better, he's going to continue to be a field filler out there and attempt to keep himself somewhat relevant by starring in these weak ass reality shows like Life in the Slow Lane, making it seem like he's some big shot driver that's winning tons of races and championships when that's clearly not the case at all with him. And to add on why I don't like Austin Dillon, he just comes off as pretty stuck up. He always points the finger and acts like things are never his fault. It's crazy how different him and his brother are. Ty Dillon is the complete opposite. He actually comes off humble and just cool in general. Not as talented as his brother Austin, but at least he's likable. Will Austin Dillon ever put an actual good season together? I don't really expect it. I've been waiting for that to happen, but it hasn't. Waiting on him to put a good season together is like waiting for a video game from back in the day to load. I know Austin Dillon fans are going to come after me in the comments, all 10 of them, but I just had to get this off my chest. It's not like I wish for him to be a disappointment, but he's been sitting in a good car for a decade now and hasn't had one good season yet. Yes, I gave him a little bit of credit for some wins that he's gotten, but that doesn't mean he's impressed me doing his cup stint so far. And I'm not even one of those fans that's mad at him because he's sitting in the famous 3 car doing disgrace to it. He could be in the 8, the 31, the 33, it doesn't matter. He's just been disappointing in the Cup Series so far. I doubt this happens, but if he took a major step forward as a driver, then I would look at him in a different light. But chances of that happening is low, and to be honest, I expect him to be mediocre behind the wheel until the day he hangs it up. So what are y'all thoughts on Austin Dillon? Has he underachieved? Do y'all think he's underrated? Do you see him going into the business side at RCR when he hangs it up? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna go ahead and roll up out of here. Y'all have a good one. Peace.